Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the 1212 podcast. And before we get into things, I just want to mention our sponsor who have paid for my family to go to Tenerife for 3 months.
Up as sponsors.
So market leader of ready-made lifestyle food brand, they offer breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks and treats. Breakfast pancakes, $2.50.
The raspberry
Phenomenal.
and white chocolate ones are out
Holy
of this
shit.
world.
Yeah, They have like a fridge.
Here's me sitting here like Lean Supper Club. They're brilliant.
They have a fridge of their own in like Centra, Eurospar, Spar, Vivo Extra,
Creighton's.
Cost Cutter. Their food's phenomenal. See, they would sponsor the likes of boxers and footballers and rugby players and things like that. MMA fighters.
Kind of people like me. So
People like you.
So you don't have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
prep.
yeah.
It's all done for you.
It's all done for you.
all right.
Stick in the microwave.
Athletes.
3 or 4 minutes. Yeah.
They sponsor athletes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's- I'm
Never
just
mind your brown
pretty
rice and chicken. Get yourself a lean. They're really tasty.
Yeah, they're unreal. Couples package, right? 10 lunches, 10 dinners, 2 packets of protein bombs, 70 quid. That's a fucking bargain.
My dad, funnily enough, he was driving one day, right? And he used to drive the big lorries, the big lorries for the brewery. And he was stopping at this zebra crossing and he saw a woman with a guide dog. And the guide dog had sat down and wasn't moving. And he was thinking, fuck, what do you do? So we get it out and he climbed down out of the cab and he went over to her and he went, listen, love, come here, I'll help you across. And she was going, no. And he was going, no, seriously, you're in the middle of the road now. And she was going, no, I'm all right. And he was going, put your pride aside, I'll help you. And she was going, I'm just training this. I'm teaching it how to do this. Just leave me alone.
Fuck's sake.
Trust you.
Do you ever
Mansplaining.
have incidents like that when you see one thing but the reality is the different thing? I had an awful experience at a comedy gig. I was hosting a thing called Beat the Frog in Manchester, which is like the amateur night.
Yeah.
And there was a guy on, let's just say the gentleman that was performing is a small person.
Okay.
Okay, so suffers from
Dwarfism?
Dwarfism. So I went up and I was like, oh, hi, what's your name? And he was like, whatever, John. And I was like, cool. Anything you want me to say for you before I bring you on stage? And he went, no. And I just went, out of politeness, and he just went, look, the microphone, because obviously you won't be able, he said, keep the microphone at the normal height.
Right.
Because that's how I deal with the microphone is my opening gag.
Right.
So I went, brilliant. So I go on, I go, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, whatever, John, whatever his name is. So he walks on, and obviously you have the audience like, oh, it's a small person. And the microphone is really high. So a guy in the audience thinks I deliberately kept the microphone up. So he jumps up on stage. All right, I'll give you the microphone there because of that Irish prick.
Fucking
And I'm like...
You still ended up the bad guy.
So I'm now the biggest asshole ever. So then the guy on stage, in fairness to him, turns round to the crowd and went, mate, you've just wrecked my first joke is how I deal with the microphone.
Yeah.
So anyway, he goes on he loses Beat the Frog. He gets gonged off, and I walk back on. I went, guys, first of all, you fucked up his joke because you assumed that I was deliberately trying to make him difficult because keep the microphone up when actually he asked me to do that, and you didn't know that. But you saw a situation and you reacted when actually the reality of the situation was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
And then the guy was like, "But you were really rude. I wasn't rude to him. He asked me to make it difficult for him. That was his first." So then the guy who got up, he was then embarrassed. So then I said to security, "Can we just get rid of the guy there? Fuck him,
Yeah.
kicked him out."
That's how he deals with hecklers.
And I was just like,
unbelievable.
You're trying to do a good deed and you end up getting fucked
yeah,
up.
you know what I'm saying. So,
But anyway, thanks, John, for the lend of the mic stands for the gig.
but you know what I'm saying, So what you see sometimes and what is happening is very different.
Do you know what one of my biggest fears is, right? If I see somebody getting beaten up in the street and I jump out of the car and I just start throwing, do you know what I mean? I just start throwing shapes. I just start fucking roundhouse kicking everything. And
I thought you meant you were going to start dancing there.
yeah.
You make me
Big fish,
feel
little
like
fish,
dancing.
cardboard box. And then everyone's laying on the ground battered, right? Teeth are being spat out everywhere. And somebody goes, mate, what are you doing? He's a pedo.
Ah, no. Yeah.
What you do then is you go up to the local school. And
Sean
you go down to the
Hegarty, pedo protector.
kids. You go up to the local school and go, come on, kids, I got a fella here for you. Like, but there
Hey, who you one?
But you know what? My friend in London was walking one day with her friend, and she saw a man in his 60s, a couple, like, say, 60, 65, and the man punched his wife.
What?
So they went over. It was like a case of domestic violence. And they were very well dressed as well. Like, they weren't like, scroats or anything. They couldn't believe it, so they went over and they kind of said to the guy, why are you hitting this woman? And then, like, the woman obviously, and they separated them, and the guy was like, the guy was trying to say, like, apparently, like, it's none of your business, this is our marriage kind of thing. Like,
She didn't put starch on my shirt. I'll teach you, Maggie.
So, I know, yeah. So they called the police, and like they said, I said, this is a vulnerable woman, and apparently the woman like was suffering a little bit of dementia or something, and the husband was getting frustrated. And look, the police came anyway, and she was just saying, like, my friend, she does a bit of like voluntary work with like women who are victims of domestic and sexual violence. And she was like, anytime I see anything like that, but like, can you imagine? The police will deal with that, and then 24 hours later, the two of them are back in the house again.
Yeah.
She can't remember it.
And
Same thing happens again.
He's just fucking offloading on her, like.
Yeah, we're not laughing
got a brain
at it.
injury.
Like,
It's terrible.
at all.
I just think
It is terrible.
But like, I had an incident. I don't know if you guys had this. My next door neighbours once in Manchester were really shouting, like they were really shouting at each other, husband and wife. Probably in their 40s, and I could hear it, and I was like, oh fucking hell, what do I do here? Like, and I have a friend of mine in the police, and I texted her, and I texted her the following day, like it died down, like, and then I texted her the following day. I said, listen, like, they're having a domestic last night, and then my friend in the police was like, you need to call in, and I was like, well, I don't know. And then a week later, they had another domestic, and I was like, at what point do you cross that line of going,
I know.
knocking on the door, going, guys, listen, we all argue, but like, is everything all right? Because I'm hearing you fighting a little bit more. Are you okay? Is he kicking the shit out of you? Are you kicking the shit out of him? If I call the police, or if I step in and then they don't like I've stepped in, then every time I leave my house, then they're gunning for me. Like, it's such a complicated scenario.
Like what
isn't
point
it?
do you? That's the age-old thing, though, isn't it? At what point is it like marital difficulties or between a woman and a man? Nah, I say just go in there and fuck shit up. Go see if you don't stop slobbering to her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take my hurley stick to your face.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Or hockey stick.
Hockey stick. That's
Depending
it.
where you're from.
See, especially men that beat women or shout at women, they're usually shout bags when it comes to other men. They wouldn't say boo to a man, but they stand and scream in their wife's face. But if a man, wait, mate, you don't understand. Do you know what I mean? Just give him a big dig in the beak.
I took my son to Wolves v Arsenal last season. He went through this wee stint of supporting Wolves for some reason, and flew into Birmingham, got the train down to Wolverhampton. Got off the train. We walked about 2 minutes out of the train station, and this woman was like wrestling with a guy over her handbag. And I was like, "Fuck me! What am I going to do here? I'm with my wee 13-year-old son across a busy main road. Do I say to him, stay here, and I run and try and help? Do I leave them to it? Like what, Joe? And then all the worst case scenario constantly runs through your head.
Yeah.
But I ended up doing nothing, and the woman wrestled her bag back off him, and the guy just walked away.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time I was there, I was like, I am such a scumbag. Why did I not jump in? Why did I
I'd
not
have sent
intercept?
your son in. Send your son
never thought
over.
of that.
You do it.
Send
You're
Never thought of
13.
that.
Send your son over.
Go ahead, butt him in the balls.
I'd have gone over. I don't know what I would have done in that situation. It's fight or flight, isn't it? Like, you don't know how you go.
Another instance, right? Me and the owner were over doing IVF in the Czech Republic, and we were in name one of these Czech Republican cities, Prague. We were in Prague, right? And this man was fucking like screaming at his wife, like screaming at her, and she was holding a baby, and she had a wee son as well, and they were obviously a family. He managed he screamed at her the whole way down the fucking railway terminal, the fucking platform, and they got onto the train, and then he started like smacking her and hitting her and stuff.
What?
And I didn't know what to do, and nobody really spoke English. It isn't one of those places where they all have English as a fluent second language. So I was like saying to people, like, should we jump in or should we help or whatever? And I was this guy who was in Eastern Europe going, I could step in here and get fucking battered. I just, so many things ran through my mind. And I was standing with Diona, and we had just had the egg implant or whatever it's called, where they put it in, and I didn't want Diona to go through anything or me to get involved, and she has to get me off, and we end up fucking you can lose it then and things like that. So I ended up doing nothing, and again I felt really bad, but I told like one of the people who work in the train station, but they almost just like stood and talked to someone in a different language, and then the train just took off, and I was like, fucking nothing was done.
A lot of people just be like, it's not our problem.
I know.
It's just a
It's
snapshot
horrible.
into
It's
someone
horrible.
else's
Very
life.
hard. It's very difficult situation to
to
read and to be and to step in. It's so
I suppose for a
difficult.
man as well, you know, because you're then gearing up against another man. Does he have a weapon? Does he have...
Exactly.
At the same time, I'm kind of like, yes, I'm from West Belfast, and there comes something from that, from being a nosy bastard, which is, like, I have this thing where I can't stand and watch. Like, I've literally stopped my car before because I've seen kids fighting with one another. You know, when I see, if I think there's a kid being picked on, or oh, those two kids are beating him up, I will stop my car in the middle of the road and get out and trail you apart. Do you know what I mean? Or like, if I seen a guy hitting a woman, which is, you know, has happened, I am the get involved type, but I suppose there is a difference there with being a woman as well. You know, there's an aggression that can come from another man to a man, you know, and they could turn on you.
Yeah.
And there is a whole thing of self-preservation as well, especially if you're with your kid or your wife who's just had IVF treatment. You're kind of, you know, weighing it up, going, well, how much difference am I going to make here, you know?
It's very complicated. And then you scroll through TikTok or Instagram, you see videos of public fights, you know, and then the comments are, why didn't you step in? First thing you did was take your camera out and you film it. Yeah, it's very easy for you to say, why didn't you step in when you're in another country, watch this video. Like,
you just don't know what could happen.
Yeah, like, you
A lot
know,
of
it's
those
just very
people that
difficult.
documented it, so essentially they've done the best thing they can because it's given to
It's
the police.
evidence then.
Yeah.
Plus, and as well, what's the point in jumping in if it's not being filmed for TikTok? Do you know, why would you risk being the hero and
When
it's not
you
even
could
being
get the
filmed?
likes.
Yeah. I mean,
You
you
could
can
get
get
the
Then
the
again,
likes.
I'm not gonna lie, I love seeing a good fight on the street on TikTok. You know, like, Karen versus Karen, and you're like,
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I live, right, obviously, in a wee cul-de-sac type thing. There's only one way in and one way out. It's like the Hotel California, right? And my husband loves to tell people the story of the time there was a fight in the street and I went and got popcorn. But in my defence, I didn't go and get the popcorn. I already had popcorn, right? And I was watching the TV in my bedroom and I heard, sounds, you know, flock of seagulls. And I went, oh, it's kicking off outside. So
You're right, throwing bread.
But I got my popcorn and I went up to the window and I couldn't see it properly. So naturally I turned the lights off because it was dark and I wanted to get a good view of outside, and pulled back the blinds, and he came upstairs and was like, I can't fucking believe you're sitting at the window with fucking popcorn. And I was like, I was already in my hand. And he's going, get away from the window. And I was like, what are you? No, but get away from
Is your
the
husband
window.
English?
No, he's from Cork. Yeah.
That's her Cork accent.
That's a shitty accent, an English accent. Yeah, I know. I'm a traitor.
Whereabouts in England is
I'm
he
a
from?
traitor. He's from London.
Where did you meet him?
I met him in do you work for the fucking PSN?
I
No,
work for DVLA.
He's in the Ra.
I
Ra.
met him in London in a wee pub that my aunt worked in.
And how does he like living over here?
He really does like it. I actually talk about that a bit. He thinks that we're mad. Like, he talks about how whenever he came over, people were saying to him about now there's the UVF and there's the IRA and you have to watch for this and don't say that and don't go to a certain place. And he went, fuck that. Nobody want me about the women. He went, you're fucking mad. He said the women over here terrify him. You know, if he goes into a house and a man's like, don't touch that, don't do this. He's an electrician. Could have fixed that light for you. We're Jimmy Carr, no problem.
Yeah.
But
You'd have still been doing 8 out of 10
you'd have still been
cats,
doing
those
8 out
count
of 10 cats if my Curtis had been there. But
Curtis,
he said, like,
what an English name.
I know,
Curtis.
Curtis.
Oh, mate, how you doing? You all right? If I saw him in the way, I'd be like, oh, you're all right, mate. Which barracks do you live in?
Well, this is it. Anybody would have thought he was a peeler because, you know, because
Peeler?
of his accent. A peeler.
What's a peeler?
The Brits?
The Brits.
What?
The walking trees. Did you
That's-
ever call them the walking trees?
No.
We used to call them that as kids because you used to look out the window and it'd be on all their army
Can I-
gear and you go,
Oh,
it's
that
the
makes
walking
sense.
trees.
Can I say something? There's a barracks up the road there. And every time I drive past it, there's a guy with a gun.
Right.
That they kind of do, like, they walk around. And every time I drive past, I get this massive urge just to do that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you do.
I don't, obviously. Like,
You have to. Used to stand. I used to work in Portadown and they would go by. Do you remember the Range Rovers? Whenever they would just all sit like that, scope you out. And you used to just see them going by. Like in our street in Lenadown, they would come through about 3 times a day. And there was this wall in the street that we would just naturally, we'd be standing like playing cribby or whatever. And you'd be in the middle of your conversation. You would just drop whatever it was you were holding and pick up a big halfer and just fuck it at the Brits.
What's a hoffer?
half a
Rock,
rock, big half a brick. Now, it was nothing to do with, it was just something to do. It was fun. And not only were you not shouted at for throwing like stuff at a vehicle, you were actively encouraged, right? But then whenever we had thrown everything at them going through, you would lift your brick, your halfer, and then set it back on the wall and like rebuild the wall again. Do you know what I mean? That wall get taken down and put up more times than the Berlin. Well, taken down. The Berlin wall was only taken down once. But we just used to fucking set them back and be like, right, now
And that's how the
it.
Mourne walls get started.
And that's how we passed our days. That was just for the good crack.
Fucking rocks at Brits.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Well, they used to drive by like that, and you know that was just the
Intimidation,
norm.
like.
We see now that I think about it, a lot of the things that we deemed as normal as kids just weren't normal. Like we were just used to having, Mister, let us look through your gun. Used to go, let us look through your gun, to let them look through the scope on your rifle. And my ma used to trail me in and go, you're not allowed to talk to them. And I used to go, why? It wasn't that we weren't allowed to talk to them because they were British. We weren't allowed to talk to them because if anybody else was targeting them, like they like children speaking to them because they wouldn't have been targeted by the IRA necessarily if there was a kid talking to them.
Children,
when they're with a
around
kid.
children.
So it used to be,
Were they all
don't be
CRB
putting
checked?
yourself in harm's way. No, probably not. Right in if you've been touched up by a peeler. But no, it's just, the good old days. I miss it.
I used
do.
to stand with a frozen bag of Brussels sprouts, just throwing them at them.
Did you?
Because they were like stones. They're hard. You know?
Aye.
Did you actually do that?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I just...
Fuck, I don't know what to believe
You
here.
didn't.
Because I'm from Cork, and when I was growing up, I remember like some of it was really bad down Cork. I remember once I saw a guy shout at another guy. It was terrible. Like that was the worst thing that ever happened. Up here, you
Shout?
got guns. What I'm trying to say is that 4 hours down the road, our childhoods were completely different.
Yeah.
They really
You
were.
had guys with guns. I had like an argument on the streets.
Yeah. But that's
One
why
of
I
those-
can't take anybody really seriously who wasn't near all of that has an opinion on it.
I
you know?
would never have an opinion.
It's like,
on it,
do you ever
yeah.
see the people that go, using's in the Black North and all, and yous are all mad bastards, and you're going, you just, you know what I mean? You've
No idea.
You have no idea. This
Yeah.
was just the norm. Yous weren't affected by it.
I think Northern Ireland has the potential to forget about the South, forget about joining the South, and forget about the UK and just go again. And do tax-free Monaco, fucking casinos. Make this place a tax
I thought we
haven.
missed a trick whenever it came to legalising cannabis, right? You look at certain parts of America that have legalised it and the money that they're making
Yeah.
flat out. If we did that, Belfast could be like Amsterdam. Well, it already kind
already
of
is, yeah.
But legally, like Amsterdam, people would be booking trips to Belfast to come and sit in a wee cafe. Do you know what I mean? And get all stoned and what?
But what
Not
does it
throw
come down
stones
to?
at the peelers, just get stoned.
Yeah.
You know,
Get stoned with the peelers.
get stoned with the peelers, yeah. And
But what
just,
does it come down to? Is it money, tax? Is it?
I don't know. But it's also people are scared to legalise it. But they did it in New York, it's legalised. And have shops
Right.
and it's really safe. And when I was in New York recently, I smoked a little bit of weed for the very first time. And I've not had it since.
for the very first time.
First time in my life, yeah. It was my 40th birthday, and I wanted to do drug.
How did you find it?
I loved it.
Did you?
But I've not done it since, and I've no craving for it. It wasn't a gateway.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm not banging out fucking heroin after this. Like, you know what I mean? So
he's
you know-
already been through that gateway.
You know what I mean? So my point is that like I think it's about fear and it's about change.
Yeah.
Everybody fears change. Do you remember like when they banned smoking in the pubs?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, it's not going to work." It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people need to be brave and make decisions, but there's no decisions being made up here. Like so.
Although the economy was heavily hit whenever the banned smoking in the pubs because lots of pubs closed down, especially in places like Donegal and all. You know where like it would have been the local watering hole, but people couldn't smoke anymore, so they weren't going out. But now it's been even better because now they have this whole outside area in pubs where you
Yeah.
can go out. And I always worked behind a bar like during uni and stuff, and whenever that came into effect, it was great because at the end of the night you didn't reek and
Yeah.
you didn't have to stand and brush up everybody's dirty cigarettes. The downsides, you can smell the piss. You know, from the bar stools
need
and
to
the
stop
old ones
pissing
that stand
inside.
there, the old peishy old lads that stand at the bar. You can smell them all
You need to
over
go back
again.
to the olden days and have toilets like way down the back. Do you know when you used to go outside? I
Yeah,
used to go into my granny's house and her toilet was like a way out the back
yeah,
and down
out
the
the
bottom
back,
of
like in a
her.
wee
Bottom of her
lean-to
garden?
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember that? There's loads of wee houses on the falls that were like that. But they got put upstairs, so you can tell that it's just somebody has thrown a bathroom into this
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of somebody's bedroom, there's just a wee stall.
Must be such an interesting place to live up there, you know, with the backdrop and like driving up the falls, you see all the tourists. And like, do you think like people who've lived there who've been affected by the troubles and stuff like that, like think that kind of profiteering off the deaths of you know. How do people feel about that? Like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, I don't know.
It is kind of, well, whenever you look at a lot of the MLAs and things like that, there's a lot of nepotism, and there's a lot of, you know, his dad did a stint inside, so they're going to take this. But one thing I will say is I did a thing called epilogues. Anybody who gets the opportunity to do it should do it. And I always considered myself pretty open-minded, pretty well-educated. Specifically, I did government and politics in uni for a year before I realised that I wanted to have a life and I didn't want to be that person. But I did this thing, epilogues, and basically what it is it brings women together from, not just women, but this in particular happened to be all women. So there was ones from the Shankill and the Falls and whatever else. And what you do is, we went to Derry / Londonderry, Doraboo, and you spend the weekend having this in-depth conversation about the Troubles and about you watching testimony from people who were directly affected, people who have been inside, people who have, and it was just really fascinating. And I realised that we're all actually just the fucking same, and we've all cried the same. But the women there had said, at least your men went inside and got an education, right? Now, it's a bit controversial, but she had said a lot of the men that she knew who were put in jail during the Troubles came out and like dabbled in this or that or the other, or were members of paramilitaries, but, you know, didn't really, essentially sold drugs and whatever. And she was like, well, you look at half of the people that are in the fucking IRA, most of the people that came out of the cash were like that, you know, because they're all solicitors now, you know, and like went and got a career. I reckon if I was inside, I would want to sit and hit the books and go, right, I'm fucking going to use this time. But essentially, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I think of just not paying the TV license. Like, there's people I know that have went to jail for not paying their TV license, and I think that'd be fucking brilliant. Only a week away, just a week away from the kids, you know.
First thing you get when you get to prison, TV.
Yeah, get some time, you know, get a wee bit of time to myself.
Like,
I turned around to my husband the other week and said, I'd love to have to go to the hospital for something. And he went, what? And I went, just like, you know, an appendix or something, you know, just let on.
You want to get COVID now and stay in the room for 10 days, don't you? That's what you want.
You know, just, you know, just something not major, but have a minor surgery where they give you good drugs and you just get to lie in bed and get away from your kids. That's why you don't have kids, because this is the kind of shit it drives you to. I want to have a minor operation so that I can get some time off.
Do you remember the TV
good.
show The Royal Family? Where, did you ever see it?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
And your guy, is it Twiggy, who's sadly dead now?
Yes.
And he comes out of prison and stuff, and they were all, oh, how was your Christmas or whatever? And he goes,
Hiya,
oh, it was
Twiggy,
brilliant.
love you, all right.
I don't get to see my son, but he was in prison too, so I actually got to spend all my time with him. Whereas he only ever sees him like every second Saturday for 2 hours or something. So he was fucking brilliant.
Brilliant.
And then he didn't have to pay for oil heating, he didn't have to pay for gas and electricity and stuff. Whereas that's where we're going now. It's like, why wouldn't you commit a crime and go in and get a fucking PlayStation?
Well, they say put old people in jails, because at least if an OAP, a pensioner, was in jail, they'd be getting 24-hour surveillance, they'd be getting fed and looked after, and instead of left in some old people's home, you know.
Yeah, it's true. It's very sad.
It's desperate. That's one of my biggest fears.
What?
Getting to that age. I was saying to my best mate the other day, we have a pact. See, if our husbands die, we're going to live together, right? Anything goes wrong, we're just going to live together and be those wee people. Do you know what I mean? Wee old people. Because my biggest fear is whenever you get to that age, you know, where nobody gives a fuck about anything you say anymore. Like, your granny could be, you bring her into the wedding and all, and you're like, there's granny, and everybody stands and waves at her like she's a wee holy relic, and then they're all, put her in the corner, they're out of the way and give her tea and a bun.
She stinks of piss.
There's your granny over in the corner. Do you know what I mean? And she could be saying something like, I'm having a heart attack, and you just go, what's that? guy. Yeah, yeah, granny. I really need to go to the doctor. Nah, she's a gag, isn't she? Like, I'm dreading that, to that point where you don't get listen. Nobody listens to me anyway. But
Pardon?
to the point. You bastard.
Andrew,
Don't you dare bump that fist.
Andrew,
Leave him hanging. Leave him
Andrew.
hanging. Burn!
Under the table.
You can take your pity bump. But yeah, I just don't want to be. So I'm going to be like, you listen to me. Will you turn your hearing aid up whenever I have something to say? You know? I'll put this on one day and go, like, 2 people used to watch this podcast and listen to me.
Me and him.
But you know, I live alone on my own at the moment, and I worry that I could have, like, you know, like a stroke on my own. Do you know what I mean?
I know,
And be
and
on my
them
own.
ones
Is that
like-
not
Yeah.
the whole point? Do you watch Pornhub and you have a stroke on your own?
Couple of strokes.
Oh, you mean like your face will sag and all? And
Yeah.
you'll just
No,
be
but like if
sitting
I'm
there?
sitting at home one night and I wake up in the morning and I've had a heart attack and there's no one in the house. Do you know what I mean?
You'll get one of them wee buttons.
Hopefully the
You just
person,
hit.
hopefully the woman on Babe Station you're talking to can
Yeah.
hear you. And
Since when am I
direct
gone
the
Babe
cops.
Station talking to women?
He's a comedian. He doesn't have that kind of money. Fuck's sake.
You can sign up for my OnlyFans as well. It's me just sending out pictures of my dimples.
Yes.
But I know I think that too. When I'm at home alone with my wee daughter and I'm like, she's 1 year old. Like, what would happen if I was to just drop dead, or if something was to happen, and
Yeah.
maybe the owner's not going to come back until that night or the next day, or what do
But
you
we
do?
all have those
Yeah.
worries, though, don't we?
Oh yeah.
You know, we all have those worries, and I think you just have to just fucking get on with it.
My kids would use my lifeless body as a trampoline. They'd probably drag me into the kitchen so they could stand on me and reach the shelf that has all the 4 packs of fucking Snickers in it. Do you know what I
They
mean?
just wouldn't give a shit.
They would not care. It would only be whenever I didn't make them a diluted drink or something that they'd be like, "There's something up with my mummy."
Yeah.
You know,
My
so-
kids had come down like 9 days later, being all like, the Wi-Fi's not working.
Yeah.
The bill hasn't been paid.
The bill hasn't been paid yet. You're lying there with fucking flies coming out of your nostrils.
Daddy, just pushing me. Daddy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You've got 8 kids between you.
Yeah.
Wow. So good.
We're
Growing
breeders.
up, I honestly didn't think I would ever have kids. I didn't even think I'd be in a long-term relationship. I thought I was going to go off and just live in the woods somewhere on my own. And then fast forward.
I thought I'd be married with kids by now, but the older I'm getting, the less I'm attracted to that.
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it? Like,
Society's changed though. It's
changing.
not like the necessary thing anymore. That people used to think, right, we'll have to get married if we want to ride, or move in together. That was the thing. My ma had to get married whenever she was like 19.
the
was
first
that
fella
horny.
you meet and you're like, that's it, you're done.
Yeah. First dog it barks at you, you'll do, right? But nowadays people aren't like that anymore. They're like, I have options,
I have a phone.
Yeah.
And it's much better too. I was raised, we used to live across the road from a chapel, right? I was raised Catholic up until I was old enough to make my own decisions. And instead of going off things for Lent every year, we had to go to Mass every single night throughout Lent.
Fuck's sake.
And I fucking hated
had to
it.
go
We
on
all hated
Mass?
it. I ended up becoming an altar boy.
I was an altar boy.
Just to get something to eat.
Just
Eat
to
the
hate it.
wafers
Just
in
to
the
hate it.
back.
I used to say, you're an altar boy. I got made redundant.
Yeah.
They let me go at the end of the season. And
He got up on the mic and says, we're here for 19 hours.
Oh, yeah. And the novena was evacuated.
I used to like deliberately not ring the bell, like. He'd be like, and the body of Christ, Lord, be with you. And you put the
You're
hand over
supposed
the
to
right,
go,
ring the bell. And I'd just be sitting there just going, what are you going to do about it? I'm not ringing the bell. And I remember I was doing fucking Easter Sunday. It used to be packed Easter Sunday, and he used to do the Stations of the Cross, whatever the fuck. Well, I can't. One of the priests, he's dead now, like, but he was an awful prick. I'd say there was dodgy shit there with him, like, and.
What do you mean? The priest?
Did you have a middle shade in your hair? Because he was all, yes, my child.
No. I know he was all right. Like he was all right. When my mom had cancer, she was very good friends with the priest anyway. But we knew him like from outside being a priest. And like he'd whip the collar on. I'm like, how are you getting on? I'd say to him, is it busy on the circuit? I said like.
Always a showman.
I used to say to him like, what's the circuit like for the priest? He goes, he said to me, I says I was up there with the house. There's a woman there. She rang me. Her son's on drugs and trying to get me to do an intervention and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, do you get a lot of abuse being a priest? And he's like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. He said, but look, we're trying to talk to people and try and help people and show them that like we're trying. They act a lot as mediators, in families and stuff.
Yeah.
And my mom got great faith out of him, and I would never disrespect somebody if they want to have that. So
Yeah.
and it brought my mom a lot of comfort, and I can see it can bring comfort for a certain generation of people, and so therefore allow them to do that. If that brings you comfort, it's none of my business. So good luck to you. But this priest that I remember doing, I used to do his masses for, and it was just fucking. I remember him. I was doing the Stations of the Cross. So you stand next to a sign and you hold the cross up, and the two crosses match. And one day we got it wrong, and we basically
Made a swastika.
The cross was facing. Basically, whatever way I was holding the thing, I was holding it the wrong way.
All right.
So like Jesus, instead of facing that way, was facing that way.
Oh, God.
But I wasn't looking up. I was just doing that, Like, and there was a guy in the audience or in this church. So she was like, "Turn the cross around." But it was quite a big thing, like. And I remember like looking up, going, "Oh Like, there's like 100 people looking at me, and I've got it all the wrong way around. I just went, nah, fuck it, keep it that way.
He's always contentious.
And then afterwards, the priest, who was a canon, came up to me, he was like, "You did wrong today." And I was just like going, "I'm done, quit."
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, going to HR.
From Jimmy Carr,
I'm
the
like,
priest
fuck.
was the one that put down these roots here. He was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
Like
I'm
this,
done.
so I was just like,
A
so I
detective
quit.
had
Why
him.
am I like, storming out? Like, give me some of my P45.
Yeah.
I'm going to another church, and you're not going to do fucking nothing about
I
it.
want my Padre P.
I'm moving to a different priest. I'm going to get a different job.
Yeah, they do 2 Hail Marys and a blowjob.
Oh man! But you ever like go to confession, and they used to always say to you, like, I used to go, "Bless me, Father, for I've sinned." And go, "What are your confessions?" She's like, "I was really rude to my sister and pulling hair, and I also committed acts of terrorism because I want death to the West."
Yeah. My first confession, in fact, I think it was my last, because I went in, first of all, a girl, we prepped for this for about, you remember, do you, being a Catholic? And you prep for it for weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. And the teacher had given us a list of sins that we had to remember, like lines. You know, like, I hit my brother. I didn't even have a brother. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did this, I did that. And I told lies.
Yeah.
And so we all had to go into this wee room and speak to the priest. And it was a one-on-one. There wasn't a divide. And the first girl that went in ran out screaming, going, "There's a man in there!" And I was like, what the fuck
With
did
his
she
cock
think
out.
was going to happen? Like, there's a man in there! And you were like, I know. Probably never seen one before because none of us had dads. But it was like, right, okay. So I went in, and I'll never forget it. The wee priest, he was deaf. Like, I remember not knowing what these things in his ears were, which I know now are probably ancient hearing aids. Looked like he was wearing a set of headphones. And he went to me, I froze. You know, you're supposed to say, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my first confession." And he went, "Bless me." And I went, "What?" And he went, "Bless me." And I went, "Oh." And I blessed the priest. God strike me dead if I'm telling them. I blessed the priest, and he just looked at me as it was probably the first time a child has ever touched a priest without his permission. Right? I was like, right, that's it. Fuck yous, I'm done. Can't even do this, right?
Jeez.
Can't even confess, right? So ever since that, I've just denied everything.
I'd say in 20 years' time there won't be anyone.
No,
going
I
to
don't
mass.
think so.
It'll be all on fucking Zoom.
It'll be done on
You'll
WhatsApp.
have one mass on your phone. You don't even go in. There's no one going. Like, it's only churches will literally only be good now for funerals and weddings. That's it.
Not even.
Maybe
You
not
stick
even.
them in the fire and hit a
My
wee button.
parents, when they died, they're giving their bodies to science. I think Queen's University, I think they've already like signed up and stuff. So I haven't had this conversation with them yet about like what actually happens. You know, like if you find out they've passed away and you go out to their house or whatever, like are they?
You get
are
to
there
have
gonna
the
be men
funeral
in-
and everything, I think. You know, where...
But I don't think so. But they don't want the funeral or anything.
they don't want
they're
that?
donating their entire bodies to research and
Well,
science.
there'll be a
so
service then. I
Where?
know the Queen's
Where?
has the
They're not
service
religious?
itself for... They'll thank... I read a book called When Breath Becomes Air, and I read... I'm a morbid bastard, right? See, if anything is to do with undertakers, morticians, like CSIs, I will read it. Autobiographies, because I just like to get to the nitty gritty. And there was one who was talking about the people that were donated in, you know, for science, and how they dissect them and they get to know them in a way, because they'll have the same cadaver throughout their training, and it just reeks of formaldehyde. So half the time whenever you're cutting the skin, it's like rubber, you know, it's not even, but you learn to respect this person. Their face is covered usually, but you'll get to know little intricate parts, and then by the time your time is done and their body's being cremated, they'll have a big service like at the university chaplaincy or whatever to thank the donors for their sacrifice, that kind of thing. But it just fascinates me. I don't think I would like it. I couldn't donate my body because I want everybody to cry over me and tell me how much they love me, and I want to be, you know what I mean, make sure my makeup's on, have my eyelashes on, even if I'm never going to open my eyes again, and paint my lips on and shit. Make me fucking gorgeous. Make me the hottest corpse. Do you know what I mean? Like my husband wants to claim me, you know, for one last go. Just
even though your arsehole so close, like just give him one last go. Just
dig me up and
just
ride
put
me
your
rotten.
just have your hand dangling over the side.
There's a country. Where is it? It's one of those countries, and I wish I had any actual facts to back this up, but they have a rule where whenever the wife dies, the husband is allowed so many hours afterward with the wife to basically say his goodbyes, But
Jesus
it's one of
Christ.
those. Yeah,
Yeah,
where
it's
is
called it's Ireland.
it? Ireland. Everybody's husband calls in to see the
I remember,
wife.
like, when my mum passed away, God rest her, she's anniversary's next week.
Oh, bless.
Like, when she passed away, it was just, like, I know it sounds really weird, but, like, the removal, like, the Taoiseach came to the, he wasn't
really?
the Taoiseach at the time, Micheál Martin, but he lived up the road. His mother-in-law passed away in the room next to my mum in the hospice. And so I was like, you know, like, hiya,
Wow.
I'm still not voting for you.
Was your ma in the Ra? No? Like
She was in
shit-
the hospital.
The Ra hospital.
But like the funeral and all that kind of, it was just like, I mean, it's such like it's like, you know, when she was embalmed and all that kind of stuff, and I saw her the night of the removal, and like it just didn't look like my mom. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it was weird.
It is a strange.
And it's a strange emotion because she wasn't suffering anymore, which was kind of, we knew it was happening, but then there's also a bit kind of like, fuck, you know, I've took this, that's it now. I've no mum anymore. And then you have people you haven't seen for 10 years, and you're like, oh my God, nice to see you. And then your emotions are just,
fluctuating.
you know, and then it probably didn't kick in till about a year.
Yeah.
Like,
How long
it's
ago
3
did
years
this
dead
happen?
now.
3 years.
I see. Yeah, so it's actually worse now than it was when she died. Like the grieving is now. I mean, like I would be in. I'm like, I find it really tough some days. Like it was 3 years ago. Like
What day next week is it?
Friday.
I'll remember.
Yeah.
On my
So,
purse, 'cause I
like,
do pray.
3 years Friday, and I think it's worse now than it's ever been. Like the grief. Like.
Wow. Because of that time that's passed, were you missing?
Yeah, well, like people's lives carry on, which is fine, but like there's certain things now that like. You like, I have a load of videos of her. We're very lucky, this generation of people, I suppose. We have videos and we can hear her voice.
That would be hard
And I
as
can
well.
see her moves. I haven't looked at them for 6 months. I can't look at them.
That would be hard.
Like, just to see the movement,
Yeah.
the way she'd walk or the way she talked, like, and stuff. So I think the grief is actually probably the worst it's ever been now. Like,
Really?
yeah. But like, that's part of the process. Like, I'm reading a book at the moment called How to Deal with Parent Loss.
Yeah.
And
That's one of my biggest
basically,
fears.
basically to just say to you, like you're in hell and this is it.
Yeah.
You know? So.
And you become very aware of your own mortality, I imagine.
Yes and no, but also I feel like I used to describe this. I came up with this analogy for grief. You go to a friend's house for a barbecue, and everyone's there, and you're having a laugh and a joke, and you're having a great time. Then at night time it just gets a bit cold, you know. So what happens is the guy goes inside and he gets blankets, and everyone gets a blanket, but you don't. But you're still there, you're still present, you're still having fun, but there's just something missing all the time.
Yeah.
And that's to me what grief is. It's just like there's just something always missing. So like my mum never saw me buy a house. She never saw me. She saw my sister have kids. She saw my brother have kids. She saw everyone else buy a house, but she never saw me buy a house. She never. I'm the only one she won't see get married.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. So there's little things like that like upset you. But then you think, oh my God, well I did get 36 years with my mum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't even get that.
Do you
So-
believe in like a spirituality? Do you
No.
not think that she's...
Just come back as a fucking butterfly or something. And
No,
I'm
well,
like,
energy can't be
walking
destroyed.
down the street and I see a butterfly and I go, oh, there's me mother.
There's my ma.
Like,
No, but
you know what I
in
mean?
all
Like,
truth, though, energy
I'm not
can't be
into that
destroyed.
kind of
It
stuff,
can only
but-
be displaced. So whether or not you believe that
I
it
think-
just goes off into the ether, that's
yeah,
different
like
thing.
everyone deals with stuff differently. I decide, like when my mom died, you know what? I don't really want to talk about this in this podcast, but this is a mad thing. My mom wrote us all a letter to be given to us after she died. And my sister has her one up and she framed it. I'm going to frame my one. And she was basically talking to me about my comedy, like.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, oh, you're really funny and all this kind of stuff. And then I was thinking to myself, like, everyone like reacts to grief or tragedy very differently. I decided that after my mum died, I wouldn't make a major decision in my life for 12 months.
Yeah. Well, they
'Cause
say you shouldn't.
I didn't
after
want to be.
loss.
I didn't want it to be an emotional
To
decision.
just let yourself.
I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to buy a house. Didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to like try and replace her with something. And then 3, 4, 5 years down the line, that's a massive mistake.
Yeah.
So I was just a bit like, I'm just going to stop and just live my life and just go. I'm not going to buy a car. I'm not going to do anything. And
That's very healthy,
I
though.
thought that was that did me the world of good. That I think
Yeah.
people just you know, and then now it's kind of like fucking it's a disaster. Like
Yeah. See, if I was your mum, but like if I was to write letters to all my kids, there is that part of me that would just be like, which one am I going to screw over? Like, which one am I going to... They're going to open their letter and they're
Just
just going to
says
say,
wanker.
fuck you. You wee dick, you didn't get me toast that morning. Do you know what I mean? His Mother's Day presents were always better than yours. This is what you get for getting me a boot soap set.
yeah,
The
so
end.
it's a tricky one. Like because I've only got like I've I have no relationship with my father, and neither do any of my other siblings, and it's very complicated. But I've only got siblings, and like they've all got kids, and I go into my sister's house, my brother's house. Like there's 5 people in that house. There's a big family there. It's brilliant, and I'm just a bit like, not that I'm missing out on it, but I'm also just a bit like, my biggest fear is doing something and knowing I shouldn't be doing it, but doing it because I need something to be replaced, which is sometimes I can be quite hesitant to commit to something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like indecisive.
There must be times like when you're with Diona and you're with your husband that you're looking at each other and you're going, "Fuck off."
Well,
How do you overcome
think
those
so.
thoughts, though?
No, I think you just have to be honest with the person and just find that balance and go right. Because like, there's times where I would go camping and stuff overnight, and I would go up the moorings and I would
On
just
your
sorta-
own?
No, with my brother usually. But I want to go on my own, but I have this fear. There's a few things I want to do before I'm 40, and one of them is go camping alone because I have this fear of just being by myself and feeling like I'm going to be kidnapped or taken or whatever, or adult napped or whatever the fuck you call it.
yeah. My mum always used to say, if anybody fucking takes you, they'll have you back in 5 minutes. I don't need to worry. Yeet through the window, have her back.
I can't deal with that.
No, I
Take
get
her
what you
back.
mean, but I think whenever you know. Funnily enough, me and my friend were speaking about this the other day. See, whenever you meet somebody, right, and you're in that wee first love thing, and the honeymoon period where you're all, I love you and I love you, and you want to sort of be with each other all the time and speak to each other all the time. That's where both of you need to be fully invested, because if one of you is like that and the other one isn't, then that's just fucking craziness,
I think a lot of people stay together now too for all the wrong reasons, because they've a mortgage and they've a house and a car, and they're like, oh, how do we divide all this shit? And
Yeah.
I get on well with her sister. Why, it's going to be just too difficult and stuff. And that's, I think, what breeds misery. And that's, I don't want to get into it too much either, like you were saying, but when I was miserable in my first marriage, I didn't want my kids to see the wrong version of me. Do you know what I mean? So I think now they see the good things in me and the good things that I bring to a relationship and the good things that I bring to being a father, and that's through me being happy myself. Whereas a lot of people, I feel, who argue and fight and bicker and fall out and get drunk and do whatever they do in these toxic relationships, the kids are saying that, and you're breeding kids who are going to go up and they're going to emulate, because everyone's
normal
first
to them.
inspiration
That's
is a
normal to
parent.
them then,
Yeah,
no?
of course, yeah. That's why kids grow up and the fellas beat their wives, because they've seen their dad do it their whole life, So you're going to go two ways. You're either going to rebel and go, fuck, I'm going to make sure my kids never do this, or I'm going to make sure I'm a role model to my kids, or you're going to continue the cycle.
Like it's like they say about the alcoholics' 2 children. One says, I've never drank in my life because my mother was an alcoholic, and the other one will say, I'm an alcoholic because my mother was an alcoholic. But
all I
essentially,
know.
you just don't want them to even know that. You just want to give your kids a wee bit of a better life.
Yeah.
And you're a very
Than
good
you
dad
had.
now since you've got access back.
Yeah.
Only joking.
Yeah, now that
20
trying to
minutes
get-
a
trying-
month,
trying
how
to
hard can it be?
Supervised by a social worker through a glass screen. Hello, son.
Yeah.
Hello, son.
Yeah, Midnight Express.
I love you. It's the system.
Yeah.
The system's done this, not me. The system, it's the government.
Government took my babies. I know. No, I love kids, but I couldn't need a whole one. I do. I always knew that I wanted to be a mother, though. I always did know
I'm terrified
that
of
one
it.
day
Terrified of that. Being a
Being
mother.
a mother?
of being a
Just
mother.
having a kid. It's just that
Breastfeeding.
constant, you're looking at it going, oh, every day.
But see, whenever they're wee babies, you look at them and go, it's cute and all, it's a wee baby. But you think you love them, and then they get a personality, and you go, I didn't even think I could love you anymore, but you've just done something. The hardest part about being a parent is whenever your kids do something wrong, but it's fucking funny.
Yeah.
And you're trying to, my youngest, not youngest, sorry, that would be really young. My 4-year-old is doing this thing where daddy finger, right? And the school had to tell me he was given the middle finger. Now, in all fairness, he probably learned it here. And I had a word with him and I said, were you given the middle finger in school? And he said, Mummy, I was just doing daddy finger. And I'm looking at him going, he thinks I come up a legging in a bubble. I know what you're doing, but but I'm secretly proud of him because I'm like, he's already finding loopholes in the law. You're like, okay. But that wee finger's adorable because it's so tiny as well. And sometimes whenever I'm racing his dad on the road, don't do that really. But whenever I'm overtaking his dad, I go,
Safely.
go, 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 go. And he'll just go, right, and stick his finger up to the window, and I'm just like, that's the best flipping of the bird
I
have
love.
ever seen.
I teach my nephew swear words just to annoy. their
We teach
parents,
our
like.
daughter.
From the mouth
Our
of
daughter
babes.
says, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
She's one like
Yeah.
brilliant. Love it.
I don't know where this came from, but my kid said fuck before, right? I have no fucking idea where he learned it. But what happened was he was holding an ice cream and he was looking at it. And you know, if you just watch them and it's like, you know, it just all unfold clusterfuck of like shit that happens to them and they just deal with it. And his wee ice cream rolled off the top of the cone and he just went, oh fuck. And I went, I mean, that was well timed. That was a real oh fuck moment. So, you know, I'm not going to
fair
shout
play.
at him
Yeah,
for it.
That's
You know,
it.
I would have said that myself. Fair play to you, mate, but don't you dare. And then you have to be two-faced, you know, and tell them off. That's really naughty and don't fucking say that. That's awful bad language, you know. But
they're societal, aren't they? Those things. It's like I think being comedians too, we almost have this freeness about ourselves, and sometimes you have to go. Is that acceptable in modern society? You know,
Sean's
you're
face
saying
the other
things.
night. They walked in. We were all sitting in the green room at this gig, and one of the guys walked in and went, right, so we'll have to keep it clean tonight. There's no swearing. And both Sean and I looked at each other like, did you know this?
No, it was me that said it.
What are we going? Was it you?
Yeah, it was me
Oh no,
that
well then
said
it was
it.
me and David that looked at each
Yeah,
other.
we were all sitting
And
there.
we're like, what the hell's going
East
on
Laughs.
here? Yes, the East Laughs.
Yeah,
it was
down the
David,
fucking road
David
from you,
Doherty
probably.
Jeb. I was
Yeah.
like, did
And
you
I
know
says,
this? I
"Here,
would have
it's
said no.
Clean sets tonight." And they were all, what the fuck? And I goes, yeah, nobody's allowed to swear. And they were like, why? And I was like, that's just what I was told. Nobody's allowed to swear. And they were all like, I can't believe this. This is, what am I going to do? I can't go on and on.
My
I was like,
set
"Oh,
was
me."
just like, I went from
Only
a
messing.
15-minute set to a 2-minute set right there. It was like,
Good evening.
sorry.
Good night.
Yeah, that'll be all for tonight. Yeah,
times.
woeful. But that's it. We do. I kind of think that you're getting attacked on Facebook because it's saying that
I'm not
teachers
getting
are like,
attacked really. It's just
well, not
people
attacked,
comments.
but you know, I know even
They're
the
teachers,
language,
they're lazy,
even
they're
the,
too lazy to
even
I
answer.
the
don't even reply.
language.
I don't even look at them really.
We're using around people making comments. It's like I was attacked. You're like,
Hmm.
no, you were just spoke to, well, typed at. But I think of comedians as kind of defenders of freedom of
The
speech.
free world.
You know, we're like
how you use it, though.
social
This-
commentators. We get to turn around and go, he's a dick, she's a dick. It's okay. I've completely abandoned all hope of ever having a normal job, so I don't need to go to a job interview. So I can say whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
You know, and you get to go.
There is a great freedom that comes with
There
that.
is, yeah. 'cause
And
I
also
mean,
a
who
great
else is gonna say it?
responsibility.
There's a great responsibility with
But there's
great.
people out there that use that freedom. There's a consequence to speech as well, and I think there's like fine line. Like in my comedy, I would never ever write a joke about something I've never experienced or witnessed.
But you have sex jokes.
Very good. Oh, yeah.
Can you ask the owner to stop messaging me?
She thought you never read messages.
So I don't do any. You know, there's people out there that deliberately look to go viral for a gender joke.
Yeah.
And I go, that's not. I won't do that because it's to me, it's like, oh, people are. I'm not going to get involved in that situation because I don't know enough about it, and I don't want to know anything about it. I don't need. I know too much about too little, and I don't need any more. I don't need to know about. Oh, there's a fucking issue with the Irish rugby team at the moment about women and who are in pre or post transformation. And I went, I don't care.
That's really refreshing though to hear somebody go, I don't know enough about that. Do you actually have an opinion?
Should be said more.
You know.
I don't care. If you want to
Should.
identify as a fucking cappuccino, good luck to you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't
Thanks
care.
a latte.
It's like somebody goes, how would you feel about like a man who identifies as a woman going into a female public toilet? And I went, I couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I couldn't care.
Do they wash their hands after? Because I mean,
I don't
that's
care.
the
Main thing.
That's the
How would
main
you
thing.
feel? I don't care. What are the chances of that happening? 0.001. There's literally, so I don't care.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. Good luck to you. Be whatever you want to be.
Thank you and good night.
What gigs have you got coming up? You're doing my gig in the Moy.
I'm doing your gig in the Moy.
I've done it.
7th of October.
I've done it.
Colin Murphy.
Is it good?
It's
great, isn't it?
Tough.
He
Is
does
it?
this weird
He's
thing.
freaking me out. He's psyching me out.
It's full of people.
It's full of people. TMP, too many people.
He does this weird thing where he goes, text me like 2 minutes before I'm about to go on, and then he just fucking doesn't come near the venue.
Really?
Aye.
Oh, do you get like that? Yeah.
Did I give away one of your secrets, sir, or what?
What
You
do
look
you
like
mean?
you're going to knife me.
What do you mean?
When you did the Moy, you were all like, I'm sitting in the car. You were
not
like an hour and a
coming
half early, and he was like,
Really?
I'm
I
not.
wasn't
Do you
coming.
get psyched out by seeing
I don't
other
like
people?
going into a venue more than 20 minutes before I'm on.
Really?
I'll try and stay outside. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't.
no, I
get really,
use that shit as an excuse to get out of the house.
I get quite twitchy. So I was in Dublin on Monday, and I was doing a gig, and the guy said to me, "Your stage time on Monday is 10:20." So it was quite late. I was like, "Okay." So I said, "Look, I'll get down for 10 to 10." So I got into Dublin for like 9:30, and he rings me and he goes, "Where are you?" And I'm like, "I'm 5 minutes away. I'm not on till 10:20." He went, "Oh, it's a quiet night, so you're going to be going on early, like at 10:15."
Right.
And I went, "Oh, for fuck's sake." So I parking, then had to run to the gig then. So I was now late, even though it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
So I got in anyway, and there was a comic on, and I was on literally straight after that comic. And he said to me, like, "Oh, don't worry, they still have another 5-10 minutes to go before you're on." So, and I just went, I'm not fucking, like, if my stage time's 10:20, I'll get in for 10. But I'll sit outside. It's not because I don't like the people on. If I go in, your gig is not going to be my gig. So if you're on stage and you're smashing it, oh, they're a lovely crowd, they're laughing. No, but we're not going to have the same gig. Yeah. So I don't want to see it. I want to, because I'll judge my gig then off your gig.
No, I like to do that.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm the opposite. I like to sit and go, no, they're a good crowd. They're here for the comedy. You can tell whenever there's a crowd that's there just to fucking drink. And you can tell whenever there's a crowd that's there and they're going to be really receptive to people's material. And also, I like to judge a crowd where I go, yeah, stuff about kids will land with them. Whereas you can do bars full of students that like just don't get the whole having kids thing or don't, there's certain things I go,
you just
I'll
suss them
tweak
out,
this.
don't you? And you see what you can get away with and what you can't.
Yeah, comedians judge their audiences just as much as the audience judge the comedians too, don't they? Like we go, they're fucking...
Wise words. And sometimes you can blame the audience too if it's not great.
Sometimes
it's always
the audience is just... It's always the audience's fault. Well, yes, I have a gig coming up in... Well, it's not until September, but it's in Voodoo.
Where's
in the
that?
town. In
Belfast
town with... Is it $2 left or $3 left?
I don't know.
It's apparently... They're these really funny guys from the south.
I don't know.
From
Just
your
because they're from the south doesn't mean I fucking know them.
Oh,
Do you not know
right.
everyone
Do you not
down
know
there, no?
everybody?
It's like
What are
the
you on
Americans.
We go on holidays. Where are you from, Lurgan?
It's like the Americans, isn't it? Like, my grandma, fuck off.
Yeah.
My great grand, fuck off. She was from fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way Americans say, like, Irish names. Like, instead of Doherty, they'll go Doherty. You're like, you're a Doherty bastard. Yeah, Doherty. Or McMahon. You know that guy from the wrestling? His name's McMahon. But they call him McMahon.
And in England, they call it Dylan Moran. They call him Dylan Moran.
That's
His name's
right,
Dylan.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
Moran.
yeah.
Like.
Moran. Yeah.
What have you got coming up?
I have my tour in November. Belfast is sold out.
Whoop, whoop.
So I'm doing an extra date in February. And I'm in Newry. McCoo's Calf. Please buy tickets for that one.
I love
great.
Nuri.
McCooey's
is
great.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a gig there in
It'll be
September.
full. You get your tickets now if you can because McCooey's will be sold out.
Yeah, so I've got, follow my podcast at Cork in the North.
Yeah. You need a podcast.
I bought all the stuff for a podcast and then haven't done it yet. But I am going to. My podcast is actually called Who She, and I am starting it up. So
What about Diamond in the Rough?
Diamond in the rough, diamond like it.
You're from the West.
That is in the rough. That's actually brilliant. Okay, scratch that. It's called
Diamond in the Rough.
Diamond in the Rough.
First
Yeah.
episode next week.
Diamond is rough. Rough is.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
No, go on ahead. It's grand.
I'm doing Ruby's Larne on the 26th. You ever done Ruby's?
No,
Ruby's?
it's good.
One in Larne and one in Dundalk. I don't know. Never heard of it until I
Right.
got booked for it.
On the 26th of this month.
Ruby's in Larne, 26th of August. Ruby's Dundalk, 27th of August.
Very good.
You're doing 2 rubies. Are they linked?
Ruby. I think they are. They must be the same owner.
Must be the same
I'd
owner.
say Ruby owns it. Both of them.
Do you reckon?
Could be wrong,
Well,
but
rubies aren't as good as diamonds, must say.
there you are. Oh, fucking good one. Let's end on that.
Never know.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Andrew
Thanks,
Ryan, go
Thank you
buy
very
tickets
much.
to his tour. Cork in the North. Brona Diamond.
Just come see me anywhere, be a
Go
general
see her.
mad
Follow her on
bastard.
TikTok as well.
Yeah, follow me on TikTok.
leansupperclub.com for all your food needs. Otherwise, you'll starve to death. I've been
It's
Sean
lovely, so it
Hegarty.
is.
1212 podcast. See you next week.
Lovely job, lad.